Let's talk about deportation and immigration raids. If you believed that the mass deportation scheme of the current administration was going to be anything other than a logistical nightmare, think again. The Trump administration has been parading the arrests of thousands of immigrants since Inauguration Day like a triumph of law and order over evil. But we are now learning that some of those very same immigrants are already being released right back into the United States because, shockingly, ICE doesn't have anywhere to put them. After screaming about catch and release under Biden, Trump is now presiding over his own version of it. And the reason is that ICE is only funded for about 41,000 detention beds nationally. And once those are full, the plan falls apart. And it turns out that rounding people up en masse without figuring out what do we do with them, where do we put them first, it's not awesome policy making, but it gets even better or worse, depending on your view. According to 5 sources familiar with these operations, some of the people being arrested in this crackdown are just being put right back into the United States, some of them under monitoring programs like ankle bracelets and check-ins. These are the protocols that MAGA people were saying aren't good enough when Biden was doing it. They were saying ankle bracelets, that's not good enough. Checking in, give me a break. They will just disappear into the interior of the country. But that's what's happening right now under Donald Trump. Here is Tom Homan, Trump's border immigration czar, being asked about it. As usual, Tom Homan goes, yeah, I just don't know anything about that.
We have exclusive reporting that there are migrants that were arrested in recent weeks that have been released back into the interior of the country because there's not enough space in ICE facilities. Were you aware of that and your reaction?
I'm not aware of that, but I'll address that. But we're looking at bed space. Matter of fact, we're looking at 30,000 detention beds in Guantanamo Bay. We're talking to our contractors to expand bed space. I met with hundreds of sheriffs who can make their jails available for illegal aliens being detained. I'm not aware of that, but now you said that, I'll find out what happened.
So let's not forget that Donald Trump has openly fantasized about building a network of migrant detention camps, presumably to fix this problem. And he says he wants the camps to be able to hold millions of people. So on the one hand, Trump wants camps to hold millions. On the other hand, even the thousands that they've arrested, they're not able to actually manage because the camps aren't fully operational. Should we be sad that the plan is a failure and it's hurting people even more? Should we be sad that he hasn't been able to build the camps? No, I'm happy he hasn't been able to build the camps, but it's just generating even more layers of chaos. So beyond the sheer incompetence, there's the economic cost of all of this. This is not cheap stuff. These operations are costing billions, and there is very little to show for it. If you detain someone at an ICE facility, it's $150 per person per day. So this has already burned through millions and millions of dollars. And some of the folks are only being held temporarily. If you like these immigration raids, aren't you upset as a MAGA that your taxpayer money is going to the cost of the raid, but then after paying for some incarceration or not, some of these folks are just being released again, and that doesn't account for enforcement costs, coordinating with federal agents, executing the arrests, transportation, gasoline. I don't think they're using electric vehicles, processing cases. And meanwhile, you've got American businesses in agriculture, construction, service work. They're taking a massive hit. They're reporting, ICE agents came in, my workforce is now decimated. Now, I will be the first to say, it is against the law to employ undocumented migrants to begin with. We should be focusing on that aspect of it, and we haven't for a very long time, but that doesn't change the fact that it is hurting American businesses. And a lot of these workers are essential to the workforce. So we zoom out and we're in the same place we always are. Trump is arresting immigrants in very high-profile raids. Kristi Noem is getting all dressed up in costume or uniform, depending on your perspective, and joining the raids. Eric Adams, I think, went on some. Tom Homan is going. I'm forgetting others who have also participated. Makes a big show. They take a victory lap in the media. And then very quietly, a lot of them are let go because the reality exists that this is not only expensive and ineffective, we don't actually have the facilities to even manage a significant influx of these arrests. So when his supporters inevitably complain about it, I don't know what the solution will be. It might be to build more camps, which is horrifying in its own right. Finally, floating the idea of detainment on military bases, here is Secretary of Defense, gag, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth weighing in on that.
Whether you will, USA Today, thanks. Do you have an update on whether you will detain migrants or deportees on military bases? And can you give us an update on that and how you'll pay for it?
Any assets necessary at the Defense Department to support the expulsion and detention of those in our country illegally are on the table, to include, as it's been widely reported, Guantanamo Bay, a naval station I spent a year at as a guard back in 2004, 2005. I know that terrain very well. It's the perfect place to provide for migrants who are traveling out of our country through gray tails or other assets, but also hardened criminals. Where are you going to put Tren de Aragua before you send them all the way back? How about a maximum security prison at Guantanamo Bay, where we have the space? So where we have the assets that can support those doing the interdiction, intervention, and arrest, we will provide that because, as Tom said, border security is national security. And that includes the assets that only the Defense Department has.
And let's remember, we've had a migrant processing center there for decades. So we've held aliens there before, and we're going to hold them again. This time, we're going to hold the worst of the worst.
So this is predictably not going well. I don't think that comes as a shock to anybody. We'll see if they quietly go away from the entire thing, continue to tout successes even though folks are then being released. I don't know what to expect. We're not dealing with competent people, and we're certainly not dealing with honest people here. On the bonus show today, I'm going to give you some updates on my travel and what's going on with the book. I'll tell you about some of the conversations I've had with Brits here in London about what's going on in the United States. Also, bird flu is entering a new phase, and we will talk about that on the bonus show as well. Sign up at joinpacman.com. I will see you then.
Well, I wrote a book after a long journey and a ton of work. I am really thrilled with how it turned out, and I hope you'll read it. The book is called The Echo Machine, and in a nutshell, it looks at how American politics got so broken, who has already figured out solutions, and how we can try to fix it and stop the terror of Trump for the next 4 years. With Trump winning this election, The Echo Machine couldn't be more relevant, not only a warning about how we got here, but also about what might be coming and how to prevent the worst outcomes. We've got to stay engaged. We need a plan, and that's what the book is about. There's a belief out there that unless you have corporate media behind you, you can't have a successful political book launch, that it's not possible. I think we can prove that wrong. Order The Echo Machine today at davidpakman.com/echo on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Audible, Kindle, anywhere that books, ebooks, and audiobooks are sold. You can also call any local bookstore and say, please order me The Echo Machine by David Pakman. Wherever you get the book, you'll get the free pre-order perks, including the signed book plate. Head to davidpakman.com/free book stuff after ordering.